es la voz de LA. It's like una galaxiana, come and kick it with us. I bring the bossa nova beats and talk the club that we love. Another year to adjust, and Will Kuntz we all trust. 6 titles in the cabin, tell a hater shut up. Mirar al horizonte con el cielo morado. Llegamos al estadio como siempre lo hago. Es la nueva temporada, ya cumplí 30 años. Rezándole a San Pequi que no dé al travesaño. Que repartan los balones y no sean tacaños. Que regrese el contraataque y que le hagamos daño. Un saludo para Robert, hermanos ecuatorianos. Que la táctica de Ananda nunca sean en vano. Si se trata de mi gala me levanto temprano. Ver el fur en verano, en el pasto tumbado. Siempre estoy a tu lado, en cualquier resultado. Vamos Galaxy, on top is where I gotta be. Chilling in the canopy, staging like a winery. Goles during rivalries, brew from the refinery. Only want the finer things, we letting you know. Lo que pasa en la galaxia, ready, let's start the show.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans out there, wherever you may be, and all you Guneros out there as well, joining us again for another episode, even though today we're back with sad full hours. It just seems like every week, weekly occurrence now here on this show, because just when you think this Galaxy team can't get any lower, they prove you wrong. Despite being winless, this Galaxy team had shown competitively in pretty much all their matches this season. Not so for their latest loss against the New York Red Bulls on Saturday, May 10th. A 7-0 touchdown of goals turned humiliation as the hosts got their revenge on the Galaxy for a 2024 MLS Cup final loss to the reigning champions. The Galaxy were never in this one, and indeed seemed to quit on Greg Vanney during this match. Everything that could go wrong did, and it culminated with an own goal as the showpiece final goal at 7-0. This prompted the under fire coach to publicly admonish his team for their performance at full time. We'll talk about what went wrong, where the blame may lie, if the problems can even be fixed at this point, and a coach severely under fire. Plus, we look ahead to the Galaxy's midweek match against the Philadelphia Union, where they hope to erase the memories of the recent debacle and look to get their first win of the season at their 13th attempt. All that and more coming up on tonight's episode. And really, what else is there to say now? But you should just start expecting these losses. I mean, I've seen Galaxy fans start to bet against this Galaxy team so they can start making a little money on the side. But we'll talk about just where we are with this Galaxy team, and look at the fan base and how just how they're feeling at the moment. But before we get any further, I'm Rob Halone. I'm one of your co-hosts. You can find my written work at Extra Time Talk and the Sporting Tribune, and right there is my tag at El Escudero de LA. You can find me online pretty much everywhere there. And then you can find my road dog right next to me, as usual, the co-host with the most, El Papá de Natita, and that New York boy again for the weekend, Ananda Kirana. Papa, take the loss out of it. How was your weekend?
Oh man, we had a great time. Right, we had a great time. I don't know if I shared with this with you guys in this pod, but I lived in New York for about 8 years. So New York is kind of my home away from home. I spent a lot of my formative years, I guess you would say, my working years, trying to chase the American dream, I guess, right out there. And yeah, so that's always going to be home away from home for me. So the weekend was going so well, Rob. I mean, Papa, like I took you guys all to the good eats. And by the way, this is also sad food hours, because I was going to ask Christian that, but unfortunately, guys, we did post that we were going to have Christian on from Simply Soccer. He is actually on the road right now, though. He is actually going to be traveling to Philadelphia to watch the game as well. So unfortunately, he just couldn't make it tonight. Just had a last minute thing come up. So, but that's also sad food hours, because I was about to ask him, where did you get all the good eats? But I know you and I see.
Oh, that's a
Even if
shot for you.
even if the Galaxy are in a horrible losing mess in the abyss of the abyss, we still have those what do you call it? Just the
Those
you and
fond
I
memories,
those fond memories of the good old days of
right?
JP's first single, hitting it with the Galaxy fans. But so yeah,
Back
I had a great
way back 7 months ago, way far back in history when the Galaxy were a completely different team.
so I had a great weekend. And speaking of, man, this the way we get through this, Papa, as you always say, as we always say on the show, is the Galaxy community, right? So just like obviously
Sticking together.
a shout out to Christian, because we saw him in the stadium, but of course, shout out to some other folks as well. Crespo, man, good seeing you in person. So shout out to Crespo, shout out to Big Romizes,
They
who's
were
out there as
amazing.
well. And
I'm glad
and,
we didn't have to go shirtless for Mises. That's
and
probably the only good thing about the Galaxy not taking the
yeah,
comeback.
and we didn't see you face to face, Rosia, but we saw you chatting it up in the front there.
Yeah,
So
I did. We said hi to each other. Like she was over there dancing and like we waved at each other real quick. But
I
she
missed it
was in her
from the
groove, man.
bathroom.
So
I missed it because I was probably like either finding an excuse to go to the bathroom after the third goal was scored. So there you go. That's where that is. But anyways, man, shout out to all you Road Warriors out there that made it to the stadium. I think
yeah,
someone said
100%.
it online. We probably deserve to be refunded for watching that performance, or at least some sort of compensation. But
Christian
you know
Ramirez
what?
apologized for whatever that's worth to
I
all the
guess
traveling expense.
I guess that's the little consolation or compensation that we have. But yeah, like I said, I had an amazing time, but unfortunately, Papa, we're here to talk about the damn match, and the one thing that ruined my weekend, of course, had to be this damn team. By the way, I should just stop going to away trips now. I'm 0-2. The Galaxy are 0-9, and that's not a record. That is the goal scored. So we've lost 0-9 on aggregate for my away trips. So maybe I should stop going to see the Galaxy on away trips. I think I'm just a bad omen.
I think we'll try it with one more, and if the third one goes wrong, like we'll just officially leave you home. You're just a home player,
Yeah, exactly. But no, man, we came out of that stadium. Obviously, we were pissed. We were heated. We were ashamed. And honestly, man, that's kind of where I'm gonna go with my one-word match reaction. And I think it has a better meaning in Spanish. And all I'm gonna say is maybe it's 3 words. I guess is una pita vergüenza. You can fill in the blank on the middle word there, but it was an absolute embarrassment. Just like the title of this video says. It was una vergüenza total, una pita vergüenza, like I said. Fill in the blank there as you wish. And I was embarrassed, man. Like I didn't even want to wear my Galaxy scarf coming out of the stadium. I didn't want to look at any Red Bulls fans. Like I was embarrassed. Like I was ashamed, like that I was supporting the team that just got slapped by 6 goals when we left the stadium. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, it's 7-0 now. Sweet. Glad I missed that one. So there you go. And by the way, that was probably one of the few times that I walked out like a few minutes before the game ended. The last time I did that, Rob, I remember this very clearly. The final home game of the 2023 season where we got blitzed. And I felt like that was sort of the last time I sort of felt this way, like sort of embarrassed, ashamed about this team. Because I remember that day very clearly. It was the very last day of the 2023 season. So yeah, it felt like it kind of felt like the team gave up, but we're going to discuss that a little bit later. So,
well, Stephen Moss hooking it up with the first super chat here of the day, and reminder, guys, if you got something to get off your chest, you can hit up those super chats. If you have a question, go ahead and shoot it out over there with the super chat. Stephen Moss says, I'm out the airport on the way to Philly, ready to watch the Union chop and grill LA Galaxy like a delicious cheesesteak with cheese whiz on top. I'm hungry now as well as sad. That's not a good combination.
Good Philly cheesesteak, man. Woo! Good old Tony Luke's, Pat's, Geno's. Take your pick, man. They're all bomb.
Well, you gave me kind of like your one word or like your kind of feelings, and we were walking out of the stadium, and you just said that you couldn't even look Red Bull fans in the eye, right? It's rare that like I I get to go to a match and just watch the match and get to like support the team. Like this wasn't me like, you know, at work, you know, like I went to go support the team and you know, just like kind of like hang out with fans for the day. And so, you know, I was wearing my scarf and stuff like that. But, you know, on the way out, we were walking to the train and, you know, Ananda says he couldn't meet any Red Bull fans in the eye. But as we were walking out, I saw this little boy and his dad, and they were all decked out in Red Bull's gear. And we locked eyes for the moment, and I just kind of like smiled at him, and he smiled at me, and I just kind of like turned away, and we started walking, and they started walking behind us. And a couple moments later, and excuse me, I know this is a family show, but a couple moments later, this little kid and his dad started chanting "Fuck Los Angeles," and I really couldn't say anything.
I remember that.
Couldn't say anything because I was like, "What am I gonna say? Like, little boy, you're wrong. You just hung a touchdown."
And do you remember? And do you remember my sly? I remember. Oh, I remember that distinctly. And do you remember my sly, like maybe like volume level 2 or 3 out of 10 remark to that? Which is, by the way, happened. That was probably one of the funniest moments in the match. Was sort of the quote unquote banter, back and forth. Maybe a little more R-rated than PG-13.
Fans had at that point.
Exactly. That's all we had was the bants, and of course the comeback was 0 trophies, and so
zero
trophies, which is true. I mean, you know,
New Jersey was another one.
Look, if we can hold the L, if we can hold,
condone, but
yeah,
you know, like
I mean, look, we can hold the L, but they need to hold the L on that one too. So it's just bants. But I do remember that. But now I was just too upset to like partake in all that. To be honest, man, I was so upset.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas says those kids were ruthless in Jersey. Was ready to start slapping. I mean, like,
yeah.
How
you were
could
there,
you?
Man.
They weren't wrong though. It's like this little kid was like talking mad shit behind us, and like how far would you say that walk was to the train, Ananda? Probably like 10 minutes.
15-20 minute walk, easy.
Good
15-20 minutes.
All 15-20 minutes. This little boy
waiting another 10 for the train. Yeah, exactly.
They were just roasting the Galaxy, and like I said, normally, I mean, I probably wouldn't say anything. Just in capacity as a journalist, but like as a fan, you know, I'd be like, yo, ease up, man. And then like not only that, but like I wanted to turn around and be like, yo, brilliant parenting, letting your like 9-year-old curse, right? But then I was like,
less said about that the better.
But again, I was like, how can I even like this kid is not wrong?
Well, that's the thing. We just had to hold. I just had to hold the L, right? There was a lot of comebacks I could have said, but you know what? Hold the L. Walk straight through. Let's enjoy the rest of the weekend. Because the call, like Vanney said, call a spade. This team is a crock of shit right now. And that's the words that he used, not mine. So
yeah, well, I mean, he said right now, and I think what the fans have been feeling is that it's been for a little while, and I think you know, it's just some people are starting to realize just now. Adam has a super chat. He says, "Hey guys, was it wrong to be expecting an announcement today?" Yeah, I think so. I think you know, obviously the team is on the road. It's just bad. I don't know if it's bad optics, but like it just, I don't know how it helps the team to lose their coach like the day before a midweek match on the East Coast.
Yeah, I see that point of view, but I think from a fan's point of view, I think Adam, if that's your opinion, I think you're not wrong to be expecting an announcement today. But I think if the question is, were you wrong to expect the team to make an announcement today? Probably based off of what Rob said. But again, man, like usually losses like these are grounds for dismissal. We've seen it time and time again. You know, Vermees this year, just as an example. I mean, we've seen a few examples already. So. But for you as a fan, I don't think you should be wrong in expecting an announcement. I mean, this is for a lot of coaches and a lot of teams, this is grounds for dismissal. So,
yeah, I mean, I really don't know. Like in a normal world, in which Greg Vanney doesn't win MLS Cup last year, I really think like after a 7-goal loss, I mean, at that point it's curtains, right? I mean, you said it a couple times, like it, and just all your righteous fury at the moment. You were like, he doesn't come back from this. He doesn't, like, you kept on saying he doesn't come back from this, and I was upset too, and I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe he can't come back from this. I mean, like, this was for me the first match that I really saw these players at a couple points not try or kind of give up. I mean, Greg says that the uncertainty of the moment of being hesitant and being off the pace and stuff like that made it look like these players were kind of putting in a lack of effort.
It sure felt like it in the heat of the moment, but we'll have a conversation about that. Let's get to this others super chat here from Zippers Forever. Shout out, man. HSC was promoted in a 7-goal game. Universe needed balance. I'm not allowed to be too happy. Life of being a sports fan, man. But yeah, again, we'll talk about the whole like
Annie, take us away.
Players down in tools and all that stuff. I think there's a conversation to be had there for sure. But yeah, man. By the way, what was your one word out of all that? I didn't catch. Like there was, I know we bantered around a lot of words. Did you have a one word or was it a phrase?
I have a phrase. The kids were all right because the kid was not wrong. The kid was not wrong. I mean, like, he went through the litany of like just capping on the team. Just
we had the old L. Like I said, we had the old L.
They didn't try. I mean, the kid even said he's like, they don't even look like they were trying, and I was like, ouch. Like, I mean, that's just damning, right? Well, let's get into some announcements, and then we'll get into this match coverage proper. The Galaxy and us here at this pod want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day, and really we wouldn't be here without y'all, obviously, biologically speaking. Ananda, I think that's how that works, and I hope that you guys all had a beautiful time with your moms. You guys tried to go out and show her how special she was. I know certainly I got to, at the very end of the evening, getting back from a long trip, got to give my mom a hug and a kiss. And, like I said, Mama Jalan, always asked me how this team is doing. And yesterday, Ananda, when I went to see her at the end of the evening, she just shook her head and said, "Siete." And I was like, the less said is better. But anyway, happy Mother's Day. And then happy birthday to Robbie Rogers, the former Galaxy left back and former U.S. national team star. Played for the Galaxy 78 times. He had 2 assists, and he won a title with LA in 2014. Of course, the Galaxy and Robbie Rogers famously made history for a good reason this time, when Robbie Rogers became the first openly gay player to play in a professional sports team, and then also win a title. So, this is the kind of community that the Galaxy community is, always putting forth, human rights and the rights of others. And so, taking that opportunity in mind, and I don't know if you heard about this with what's going on in Nashville, but La Brigada de Oro, who is their supporter, their Latin American supporter group, La Barra for them, they're going through it right now, man. They halted their game day traditions, like their tailgate and their festivities, for Saturday's match against Charlotte FC, because there's a big ice scare in the Nashville area, in the region. And so they were forced to, cancel their tailgate because they were scared that their community was going to be targeted. They say, at this most difficult time in our community, our heart breaks at this injustice and goes out to so many families and friends being affected. Furthermore, at this moment, it doesn't feel prudent to celebrate, cheer, and party while so many families within our community are being separated and destroyed. There's a lot of boots on the ground reporting on this right now, and a lot of stuff that I've been reading was saying that not only was ICE going to be on the ground targeting people leaving the game, but also they were going to have checkpoints around the stadium, targeting Latino drivers or people that might be undocumented. So Yeah, it's a tough time for that community at the moment. So we here on this pod we want to stand in solidarity. As of Thursday, Tennessee Highway Patrol in conjunction with ICE had already conducted almost 500 traffic stops, netting 95 detentions for various reasons. But if you want to go ahead and show your support for this group and for that community out there in Nashville, they are raising funds for the community through an organization called the Belonging Fund. That's an initiative of the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee and the mayor's office to provide emergency support for immigrants and refugees in crisis. Other pods are also reporting on this as well. The Sucker Wise podcast has provided a little bit of info in the way of a phone number. The Deportation Defense Hotline is 844-363-1423 and is specifically for people who are witnessing an ICE raid or other immigration-related law enforcement. This organization, they have their a tagline like their statement, like how, I don't know if it's like a mission statement, but everybody has like or every group may have like a sentence that portrays them, and theirs is "En la unión está la fuerza," which means in union there is strength, and I really honestly believe that. So hopefully that community becomes united, and certainly they draw on support and the good vibes that we're putting out there for them, and they can get through this difficult moment. Shout out La Brigada de Oro for keeping it real, keeping it strong, and being frontline warriors, man. Keeping it moving here with some news. VCFC won El Traficito 2-1 with a Dylan Vanney stunner, a beautiful free kick. He gets the game winner. I mean, it's good to see Vanney, one Vanney balling out.
One Vanney's having a good time at least.
Yeah, I mean, it was a peach of a goal, Ananda. I don't know if you saw it.
Saw it. Yeah, I saw the clip. Yeah, really nice.
So anyway, he hits the game winner. Now VCFC is up to first place in the Western Conference. They play Austin FC 2 tomorrow on Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. at home, aka the Willie Roll. I am really going to get that to catch on. So anyway, VCFC in first place. So a lot of those Galaxy second team players or like fringe players are on the team, so that's only good, so that these players continue to develop. Ananda, I know we've been avoiding it, but I guess we got to get into a match reaction now.
Yeah, got to get into it, but really quick before we get into it, guys, because maybe we did or we didn't, but just as a reminder, if you guys haven't yet and you guys enjoy Sad Foo Hours, group therapy sessions, we do this kind of a laughs and jokes, but we do, because people cope with how badly this team is doing in different ways, and we just want to provide an outlet for you guys to voice your opinions, to chat, to interact with everyone in our community, right? Everyone that goes in the chat, like, you guys are always awesome and so welcoming and all that good stuff. So hopefully this provides like a little escape, right, from the doldrums of and the abyss that we're in right now with this damn team. But of course, guys, if you are enjoying what you're listening to, if you do get some value out of this, go ahead and do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. And help us to get to 600 subs. Of course, Rob said the super chats are always open, so get your questions in there as well. And Papa, I don't want to forget this because we're 20 minutes in, and I want to make sure I get it in because this is one of those ritual things. This is like my thing, right? So I gotta
I know you're going. I know
put
you're
it
going.
in either, but como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches.
Get them.
Y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Sad Foo Hours group therapy sessions.
24 minutes in, but bienvenidos.
Capítulo número 20, no sé porque I lost count. And this is perma Sad Foo Hours. Like I told you last show, man, perma Sad Foo Hours at this point. So there you go.
Hey, do you realize that like if you take the CVI as well, this team hasn't won like in 17 games or 18 games or something like that? Like it's
the last game was like the Herediano win. That's like literally the only win this season, not even in the regular season. That was in another competition. So
yeah, I guess, but that's a reach. But anyway,
I'm reaching, man. I
Yeah.
gotta reach for something. Gotta reach for something. Reach for this guy.
The homie, yes, Eduardo Campos, Group Therapy Part 3 this week for sure. Hey, what's up? Shout out Nag Boys. Yes,
Keep it nagging,
it
baby.
was.
Keep on
I don't know if you saw the Nag episode, but they were talking about how this was like the red wedding for the Galaxy. Damn.
That's I love that analogy. By the way, Nag boys, I feel like we've got to do a El Último Sueño or now it should be an emergency meeting. We are in one of those emergency meeting sessions.
Ugh.
It's time, Papa. We got to have an emergency meeting with the Nag boys of what's going on, and let's pretend to be CEOs and COOs and in the boardroom to have this emergency meeting about this damn Galaxy team. So there you go.
Yeah, well, we're going to need to because it reached a new low. Like I said at the top, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, in the rematch of this 2024 MLS Cup, the Galaxy were blitzed for 7 on the road, 7-0 to the Red Bulls, and in front of exactly, yay, in front of 23,000 fans at Sports Illustrated Stadium on Saturday. Your boys were there. We could tell you that it was a live atmosphere. It was in terms of just atmosphere and the vibe. It was fun. It was cool until the beatdown happened. The 7-0 is the largest loss in LA Galaxy history. It beats the 5-0 Seattle loss that they picked up a couple years back. This is just another stop on the road for the Galaxy this year with just the feats of mediocrity. I mean, achieving the worst start in league history, losing a match after conceding no shots, to being winless in 12. I mean, this is a Galaxy team that we thought had done it all. Unfortunately, they got 7 hung up on them. And well, how did it all start? You might be asking. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting opened the scoring for the hosts in the 7th minute with a composed effort after combining well with Emil Forsberg to get into the box really quickly. I just want to say that it seemed like a couple of times during this match, you and I, Ananda would call like that this was going to happen. Like, for example, Ananda called that Forsberg was going to hit the free kick for this opening goal. I see Forsberg and Choupo-Moting at the top of the box, and I'm pretty much yelling like, put a body on him, put a body on him, put a body on him, and no one puts a body on him. Choupo-Moting comes around the corner and scores a very composed finish, if I gotta say. Forsberg hits him with the little shovel pass there to get him free, and then Forsberg turns goal scorer just 6 minutes later. He gets played in behind. I mean, this Galaxy team was at 6s and 7s because they were in the new formation. What would you call this, Ananda? You were calling this a 3-5-2, right?
Yeah. We'll get into the formation a little bit later too, and we'll see it on the screen. Actually, they didn't even like categorize it the right way or picture it the right way. Yeah, it was more 3-5-2. But on the second goal, man, Emi Garces, I don't know what he was doing. Like he had an awful.
They weren't together.
Game. No, and he had an awful game. I think he was very lost out there and just didn't understand the positional responsibility of that back three. And so just sloppy.
Well, there was a pivotal moment at 2-0, and who knows if this would have changed much in the grand scheme of things. Who knows if it would have been 7-1 at the end of the day. But there was a pivotal moment at 2-0 where Christian Ramirez gets played in, and he's all by himself. He has a golden chance to make the game 2-1 after finding himself one-on-one with Red Bulls keeper Carlos Coronel, and he skies it. He shoots yards over the box, like not even just a little bit, like a lot of it. He spoke about the moment in the post-match presser. He says he just got under it, and obviously it's a moment he would like to have back, but it was just the first of several misses that the striker would have. I think he had at least 3 pretty decent chances in the evening. Well,
Barry had a good one too. Colonel was out there.
right.
Was out there pretty, good reflexes, I guess, on his part. But yeah, there was a few chances, but again, man, it's like when the pressure keeps piling on, especially those guys in front of goal, they feel like they have to score. And I feel like maybe the pressure gets them, even an experienced guy like Christian Ramirez. And I think it's just, you tend to snatch at those, right? You tend to fluff your lines if you're not confident, if you feel like this is the only chance of the game that we're going to get, which wasn't the chance. We'll get to the stats a little bit later. But yeah, very, very surprising. And man, like I remember vividly the reaction of all of us in the away section, like, how the hell did you miss that? Like, absolute disbelief. People were, banging their arms on the benches and everything. Just a lot of upset fans around me. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think it was like I said, a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Who knows what could have happened to this Galaxy team had they scored there? I mean, it was still early in this match. I think this moment comes in the 25th, 26th minute or something like that, because a couple of moments later, my wife always says, when the goals they don't score, that you don't score, they score on you. Well, Choupo-Moting gets his brace and effectively puts the match out of reach in the 31st minute by scoring the third goal for the Red Bulls. This is just another instance where the Galaxy are sloppy. I mean, Choupo-Moting picks up the rebound and no one gets to him to body him, or no one picks up the rebound, and the game's all of a sudden 3-0. It's after 31 minutes, and the Galaxy basically have to play 60 minutes just down bad. If the game had ended there, it would have been among the worst performances for the Galaxy this season. Unfortunately, there was still a half to play. Not content for embarrassing the Galaxy in the first half, the Red Bulls hung 4 more goals on the Galaxy in the second. Well, I guess it should be fair. They hung 3 more, and then Mickey Yamane hung the last. But
hey, at least the Galaxy defenders are putting in the goals, huh? One own goal from Maya last game, and another one from Mickey this game. So just in the wrong side, just in the wrong net.
Yeah, at least the Galaxy, some Galaxy players were scoring something.
Yeah.
Well, like I mentioned, the moment Aude gives away the free kick for Forsberg. And Forsberg steps up. You had already called it. You said that he was going to bury it, he was going to score it, and he did. He leaves John McCarthy stranded, and at that point, just the Galaxy are finished being demoralized. Unfortunately, the Red Bulls were not finished demoralizing them. Cameron Harper and Dennis Jengar would add New York's 5th and 6th after Harper got to a goal mouth scramble first, and Jengar finished off a well-worked passing move. Now, probably the 6th goal by them was probably like their nicest goal, Ananda. I mean, the first one,
because which one was the one with the bad back pass, and then McCarthy just like hit it like 2 yards in front of him basically, and the defender basically stole the ball in our own box, and it was a tap in at that point. I can't remember if that was the 5th or the 6th.
That one's the Cameron Harper. That one's the 5th one.
Okay.
I mean, the Choupo-Moting goal was like, what was nice on him. He was composed to finish, but really that was a defensive miscue there. Defensive miscue for Forsberg on the second goal. Defensive miscue for the third one.
Yeah, well, third goal. By the way, remember the third goal, McCarthy made a hell of a save to start off that play. And then Forsberg, I mean, the one guy that you have to put a body on, they have to check, put in a tackle, put in a foot is Forsberg. We give him 10 yards of space because, again, I think at that point, the Galaxy are scrambling, and this is why part of the reason why too Emi Garces had a terrible time of it, because I think he just wasn't composed. He's not at that development level yet where he needs that level of composure, that level of positional awareness. But also, I honestly, man, like, his veterans weren't helping him either. Like, Maya wasn't really helping him either. Neither were any of his midfielders. So I don't blame everything on the kid, because he does rely on his athleticism quite a bit. I think a little over reliance on his athleticism, but we were just all over the place. So yeah. Anyways.
Well, like you said, even his experienced defenders weren't helping him. I mean, Mickey Yamane has the last goal for in the evening with basically just a peach of a goal. I mean, if he had scored this normally, it would be like,
Unreal.
hey, that's a class goal. But the fact that he does it as an own goal, I mean, that's what kind of put the damper in it all. As if it weren't bad enough, 7-0. As if the traveling support wasn't demoralized as enough. A couple days later, the Galaxy have to go to Philadelphia, and they have to do so now without Edwin Cerrillo, who will be missing out through yellow card accumulation, without Emi Garces, who will be missing out through yellow card accumulation, and then the other injuries, which, let's face it, the Galaxy have had no luck with. What could you tell me from this starting lineup, Ananda? I mean, we have already spoken about this new formation, this 3-5-2. What did you see out of this lineup?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is because I saw Alex's tweet maybe the day before the game, and he talked about a two-striker formation, which is something I had brought up in our predictions, right, in the preview that we did with Andrew. Just because of the lack of players and bodies and guys that we have in those attacking positions, right? The one thing that we lack without the DPs, Rob, is speed, right? Especially speed up and down the wings and in the attacking positions. So we had to find a way to counteract that in some way. And honestly, man, I think maybe historically we haven't done well, or Greg Vanney's teams haven't done well in a two-striker formation. But I thought that I guess I'm giving Greg a little bit more credit for trying something rather than not doing anything at all, because what have we said in the show? Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, right? So he had to try something. I think the intent and the idea was okay. Of course, the execution was lacking, but I also thought the players, man, I was really surprised that he put Marco Reus and Fagundes sort of in a kind of a double six, which is not really their thing. Like, they're not really those mobile, agile midfielders. Like, I think you can probably play one of those guys, and I would have loved to see Edwin Cerrillo and Lucas Sanabria in that double six. Which, by the way, I thought Lucas Sanabria had a pretty decent second half when he
looked
came in.
Great
right,
when
Rob?
he came in. Yeah,
I thought he filled the part well. He kept it simple, won a few tackles. Yes, he got caught on possession maybe one or two times, but I think that's what you wanted. You want protection for that back three, back five, however you want to call it. So again, we tried something, it didn't work, but more so than formations, more so than tactics, I'm going to beat on this point a little bit later, but I think it was just application and execution more than anything, man, especially the application part of it. So again, I don't blame Vanney for trying based off of the cards that he was dealt.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about it. You're absolutely right. I mean, definition of insanity, yada yada. I mean, we called him out for not being risk adverse. He tries it and it goes bad for him, and people were upset. I mean, I'm not upset. I mean, like I'm just like, hey, it just didn't happen for them. I mean, Greg said they had a shit game. I don't know if that's because of the formation or the players themselves and their execution, but yeah, I don't think he could be faulted for trying something. I just don't think that the players executed whatever the game plan was supposed to be. Yeah, but no, not upset about trying it.
Well, I was gonna say too, remember, like, what did I, other than what was the thing that I kept saying? Oh yeah, like Vanney's not coming back from this kind of thing, right? Repeatedly. The other thing I said repeatedly was, look at the space behind. Look at the space in behind. Look at the space in. Yeah. Like, I said that probably like 15 times, and that
this guy sounded like a parrot.
That's where it was, though, because remember the Christian Ramirez chance, the one where he skied it. That was a ball over the top, a little ball flicked in behind, because the Red Bull, because they were playing.
It was there.
At times they had a high confrontation line. They were playing pretty high. The only problem was neither Julian Aude or Miki Yamane got up their flanks and was brave enough to maraud and sort of made those channel runs. I talk about channel runs a lot on this podcast, and unfortunately we were playing too slow, not even just too slow, just like everything was in front of the Red Bull. Nothing was behind, nothing was dynamic. Everything was very predictable, right? Everything was very labored. So that was the thing, man. I kept on saying, because we had the perfect view from where we were, right, Rob, of the attacking, play in the first half, and you saw where the spaces were, man, right behind between that right back and center back of New York, and we just never exploited the space. Were we too scared to play that pass? Was that Vanney's instructions to try to keep it simple and keep everything in front of us and play simply? I don't know, but all I know is it didn't work. So,
well, we know that it was 7. We know that the formation didn't work. Let's look at what the numbers tell us, though, Ananda. What can you tell us about these match stats and perhaps on how they influence this match?
Yeah, I'll give you guys the final box score, but I'll give you just a very easy assessment of the match stats a little bit later. But just looking at the key stats here, so XG 4.33 to 1.52, not a surprise. 21 shots for the Red Bull, 16 for the Galaxy. Again, we didn't do too badly in the possession stats. It was a pretty even game, right, Rob? But the thing is, you saw it based off the XG, based off the number of shots that they had. By the way, the New York Red Bull had 11 shots on goal versus our 6, Rob, and all of our 6 were blocked, right? So that's part of it too. And this is a little bit to the point I made earlier, maybe a pod or so ago, about I think we're finding it a lot harder now with this version of the Galaxy team with, especially when you don't have the 2 DPs, we're working a lot harder to get our shots off, right? That's been a real issue. And I mean, that stat says it all right there. All of our shots were blocked. New York Red Bull had 8 big chances. The Galaxy had 4. And that's really it, man. So, but I think I'm going to say this, which is I'm going to echo Mr. Comments 96, Mr. Matthew, who's in the chat.
Shout out.
And he brings a really good point, which is sort of going to relate to my summary of the match stats, which is bigger. And he says, bigger than tactics, something's deeply wrong with this team. And I think it is more than tactics, Rob. I think it is more than stats. This game wasn't about the stats. It had nothing to do about the stats. And actually, I do want to pull up one thing, though, because it's going to lead to my point, which is I always seen this stat, and this is, by the way, shout out to Galaxy Comms, and thank you guys for providing this to us. But you see that stat on the bottom, Rob? It's high-intensity runs.
High-intensity runs.
486 to 419. Now, I don't know what's considered a high-intensity run. I'm assuming that's going to be a sprint of some kind, right? But you brought up this stat interestingly to me during the last pod when I did. I think it was with Thad when we previewed SKC. I think it was before that pod, which is I think it was a stat around either distance covered or something like this around high intensity runs. Yeah. And the query that you posed to me was, is this a lack of work rate from this Galaxy team, right? Well, it's interesting because what I said to you was it's more of a byproduct of the system and not so much the lack of work rate or the lack of effort. But what I did say was this team doesn't have a propensity or a want to make lung-busting runs for their teammates, like get into those channels, right? Like I said, hit the ball in behind, guys, spaces in behind, and they never did because no one took that chance, or maybe, the teammates, they haven't trusted each other to a point where if you're going to hit a ball in the space, I'm going to go after it kind of thing, right? So I thought that was, so I'm bringing that up and not as more of a statement, but more of like a food for thought. I thought that was interesting, right? That New York Red Bulls had 80 or something more high intensity runs. So I don't know what that means over the course of the game, but the one thing I will attribute to is just the lack of channel running from this team and the lack of desire to want to get in and behind and sort of, go into spaces for those teammates. But as I said, man, this game wasn't about the stats. To me, it was about the effort, the commitment, the desire, and the discipline, right? Because you can't have effort without discipline. We saw that in Embarassing's game all game. You have to have discipline combined with the effort and the commitment, right? And playing for the shirt, playing for the badge, like you always say on this pod, Rob.
Yeah, and more to the point, I mean, there's that lack of commitment, lack of effort. I mean, just basically all those adjectives that you said, desire, discipline, follow through, execution. The Galaxy had pretty much been in all the matches that they've played this year, with for me anyway, the possible exception was St. Louis, until Saturday. Saturday, they just weren't in it from the beginning, and chalk it up to the injuries, chalk it up to the unfamiliar formation. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think it was a desire, a commitment, a discipline, an execution thing. The Galaxy had pretty much for a majority of the season fallen back on the fact that they weren't outplayed in any of these matches, and that it was just a matter of the fine margins, a call that went against them here, a mistake there. But in this match, that wasn't the case at all. They just were simply destroyed on the pitch. But don't take it from me. Take it from El Maestro Gregorio Vanney.
Today we were shit, and that's the end of that. And from start to finish, it wasn't good. And spade is spade. That was it. I think, and there's other games through the course of the season where we played well, and we either just made mistakes that hurt us, or we didn't capitalize on moments that we need to. And that's the difference in results. The margins are thin. Tonight they weren't thin. Tonight they thoroughly beat us, and they deserved to win. But in a lot of other games, the margins were very fine, and mistakes hurt us. So we've got to figure out within our group and the guys that we have how to try to improve our margins and try to execute. And one thing tonight, and one thing we know for sure, is we have to stay connected as a group. We can't get disconnected, because then we get exposed and things can go sideways.
Stay connected as a group, Rob. That's the message from Coach Vanney. What do you think? What do you think about that? I mean, because my mind goes an interesting way, because it sure didn't feel like it, right? Sure didn't feel like it.
No, it didn't feel like this team was,
because we were there.
connected.
We felt it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he said that. Greg even said that this team was disconnected, which is why he's saying that they need to stay connected as a group. But no, this was a Galaxy team that was severely disconnected. And like I said, whatever it is, whether it's that formation that was new and the players didn't know where to be, or whether it's just the wear and tear of the season already getting to them, and just that monkey being on their back of not winning, that they just weren't there. The effort wasn't there. And like I said at the top, and I told you at the time, this is the first time all year I feel like they quit on the pitch. I don't know if they quit on Vanney. I don't know if they just quit on themselves or just on the game. But I didn't see the effort there. I feel like they quit. Again, Greg says that it was a temerity, hesitation that made it seem like they were lacking in effort. But I don't know, Ananda. That's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
So you're in the mindset that you feel like so I remember you were on the subway getting back to the city, and you were like, I got to join this presser. This is an important one. I mean, at that moment, do you feel like, based off of what, obviously, not a good example because it's coming from Vanney, but Christian Ramirez, for example, like, you're around this team, Rob. You've been covering this team all year. You've been in the digs, and you've been, obviously you were in that last presser. I mean, what do you feel? One thing is the performance on the pitch, but then another thing is just the vibe in the locker room. Like, do you feel like the locker room is still together? Do you feel like this was a blip, an anomaly? Do you feel like this was more on the players and losing their composure, like I said, losing their discipline, all those adjectives, like I said earlier? Are they still behind Vanney? What's your sense, just based off of maybe, digesting all this in the last 24 hours or so?
Yeah, man, good question. I mean, Perplexed Pottermus says the players must be having some arguments in the dressing room. I mean, that's just what we're supposing. I mean, like, it would be silly to think that they're not upset and that they aren't, like, doing the typical teammate thing, like, hey, blood, you're not in the space, you're not right. Like, it would be silly to think that they're not kind of, reproaching each other on some things. However, we've seen no indication of that. It seems like this team, at least from what they're showing us in pressers and being public facing, is that they are together, and that it's a difficult moment, but no one is pointing fingers at each other. They're just kind of looking at each other for accountability and to kind of, show each other that they're there to support each other. But we have no indication that this team isn't.
We're just speculating at this point.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's nothing that. In fact, there's. I was going to say there's nothing there's no evidence to tell us that this team isn't together, or that they haven't, or that they've quit on Greg Vanney. They're not in support of him. In fact, there's evidence to support the fact that they are together. I mean, they've brought it up a couple times that, you know, they know it's a difficult moment, but they're so together. A couple players have brought up the fact that everyone's still behind Greg. You know, so more tangible evidence is there to support that they are still together. However, the results on the field don't support that. Like the end product doesn't support the supposition, right?
Yeah, Rob, you know where I'm at on this, and this might be you guys can noodle this with this on chat too, is I felt like in the 90 minutes, right? I'm not talking about the season. In those 90 minutes, I felt like the team quit more on each other than they did on Vanney, if that makes sense. Like what I saw on that pitch was after every goal, I tried to look for what the reaction was, right? I'm looking at the leaders. I'm looking at Maya. I'm looking at Diego. I'm looking at Marco Royce. I'm looking at the experienced veterans on that team, looking at younger guys like Emi Garces, like Edwin Cerrillo. I didn't, and maybe like I'm wrong to expect this, but I didn't see any communication. I didn't see anyone like not pointing fingers, but like giving directions or giving a talk, or they just looked at each other in just with faces of like, what's going on, with their palms raised in the air. So I felt like
at the moment, and I said it at the moment,
no one's communicating. So it's like, where are the leaders on the pitch that can get you out of those sticky situations, right? And so from that, I'm drawing this conclusion that I felt like the players quit more on each other than the players quitting on Vanney, and that's based off of the reactions that I saw after every goal. It wasn't like you know how like sometimes like even last year like JP would try to get the crowd up, or Ricky would be like, hey, let's go, or like I didn't see any of that this game, Rob.
There's no characters, man.
Yeah. So I felt like, maybe in those 90 minutes, again, I'm not going to say the season, maybe indirectly they signaled to each other that they kind of quit on each other. And, you know, that's pure speculation on my part, but that's the feeling that I got being in that stadium.
Before we get any further into this, because I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about this particular issue. Has the Galaxy won a game yet? Hitting us up with the super chat. Says,
XPH.
Hey Rob,
what's up?
Is that
name?
XPH?
Yes. It's
oh
XPH.
Man. Oh, XPH. UW.
I got to him.
The answer to your question is no. Hey Rob, hey Ananda, question for both. You can bring one player to help the current roster. Your options: Skelvig, Sean Davis, Yoni G, Nico Hamalainen, Memo Rodriguez, Pando Ramirez.
Jeez,
you go first.
The best of a bad bunch, huh? Yeah, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind me some Memo right now. I wouldn't mind me some Memo.
I mean, he's
I'm not even gonna lie.
He's a, you know, good depth piece midfielder. Yeah, I'm gonna go Yoni G. The Galaxy desperately need a winger right now.
Oh yeah, fair.
Yoni G, you know, had some speed, showed some flashes. You know, if he had been on a better Galaxy team, who knows what Yoni G could have done. He was gone too soon. Anyway, my pick is Yoni G.
Like Sean Davis, man.
Man, I saw a picture of Sean Davis wearing the kit today, and he's holding up a chalkboard, and it's LA Galaxy Media Day, and it's like all about him. And I was like, that's sad. That's definitely sad.
Really quick before we close out on this Vanney point though, and get to the next topic. I did want to bring this up because I think this is really interesting, Rob, and it made me think about one certain thing, and which is kind of like just to make sense of everything that's going on, especially around Vanney, which is the tweet from LA Galaxy 310. Of course, Lex always brings the goods online. He says he puts that stat there, or just the finishes, right, of Greg Vanney during his Galaxy career. 2021 missed the playoffs in 8th place. 2022 qualified for the playoffs, and of course we were just one extra time or injury time goal away from advancing in the Western Conference Finals. 2023 we missed the playoffs. Of course, we know that. Last year we were champions, and this year, well, it's funny because he's like missed playoffs already. I feel like we're gonna miss the playoffs, 15th place. But anyways, he says, honest question, is this deserving of contract extension? The LA Galaxy's inconsistency under Greg Vanney is insane. And I think this is interesting, man, because what I was thinking along the same lines of this too. And remember, if you go back to his Toronto days, he during that 2017 into 2018 season, he won the cup in 2017, and then in 2018 he had a raft of injuries, right? And his 2018 team ended up missing the playoffs as well. However, he did give credit to Vanney though, because he did play an MLS Cup final 3 out of the 4 years, I believe, between 2016 through 19. I think facing Seattle like 2 of those
Yeah,
times.
the great Toronto Seattle series.
Yeah, exactly, right. So, or sorry, 2016, 17, and then 19, playing Seattle in those finals. So I guess what I can say about Vanney is like he's shown a capacity to excel when the conditions are really, really good, right? He won a cup, he won a treble with Toronto, he won MLS Cup with us. He was, again, like I said, after he got Ricky Puig in that summer transfer window in 2022, he was an injury time Chicho Arango goal away from advancing to the next stage of the playoffs, right, in the Western Conference Finals. So and what you can say is, but the floor, when things don't go his way, when the conditions aren't right, we know what the floor is. Like, it's being a completely horrible team missing playoffs, right? And if you think about his style of play, Rob, it kind of makes sense. Like, Greg Vanney's very meticulous with his possession-based style. It's a positional system, right? Positional play, where you need high quality players with a lot of technical ability, especially in those key areas of the pitch. And when you don't have them, especially when you don't have 3 DPs, that makes it a lot harder. Now, but that's not an excuse, because we've seen even this year alone, Rob, you look at Wilfred Nancy, he lost arguably his best player, Cucho Hernandez, leading his team in goals and assists last year. But yet look at them in the Eastern Conference right now. He's led that team to a second place. I believe they're in second place right now in the Eastern Conference, right? You see the job that Vancouver's doing right now with their head coach, and they haven't had Ryan Gauld all year, which is their best DP. So injuries happen, right? Stuff happens, and I don't think that's an excuse. But based off of Vanney's track record, you can see like the variance, right? There's a huge variance in Vanney's teams. Like, when things are good, his ceiling's really high. You can win MLS Cup, you can win trophies with Vanney. But when it's not good, he's shown just a lack of ability to manage through crises, right? And that's what I can draw from this data.
Is he el tóxico? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't go. That's a deep cut. I wouldn't go that far, but
when things are good, baby. When things are bad, they're utter miseries.
I like where I like where you're going with that, though.
All right. Well, the fallout of a 7-0 for me in a normal world, if Vanney hadn't won MLS Cup last year with this record and with this result, would be that he probably doesn't have a job. He still does, and understand, I'm not advocating for it. I like Greg a lot, and I hope that he turns it around, and I hope that he figures it out. But there's not a lot of time to figure it out. There's not a lot of opportunity to do so. The margins, as he likes to say, are getting thinner and thinner. So where do the Galaxy go from here? Ananda, I know that you were kind of doing some checking on the situation on the playoff hope at the moment. What can you tell us?
That we're really far away. Like, we're already 13 points behind a play-in spot, right? The 9th seed. Of course, guys, last year 47 points was the play-in spot. Let's assume it's anywhere around 45 points, so we can assume that to be. So that means we need 42 points, and that's, I don't know how many wins that is, but that's a lot of wins. That's if I'm doing my maths correctly, that's I believe 14 wins. So again, 14 wins, and we have 12 games played, so that would be 22 games left in the season. We have to win 14 out of 22 games, Papa, to hit 45 points.
Hey, I mean, like JP says, not that JP, the other JP, the first JP in Angels in the Outfield, it could happen. I just improbable right now. So,
yeah, well, that's probably why Lex put in his tweet, missed playoffs 2025, even though it hasn't happened yet. So, yeah, I mean, Pottermus says in the chat, we're in the playoffs for the wooden spoon. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it's going right now, and especially with the injuries and suspensions now that we have to deal with. I mean, that's why, like, you know, we put this query up there, Rob, and chat as well. Like, where does the Galaxy go from here? Because now let's think about this long term, guys. Let's think about this long term, which is, okay, maybe this season is after this month. We'll find out, to be honest, if the season's over. That's my opinion, right? But there's a lot of long-term decisions and implications that we got to think about. Like, one is, you know, do we still try to win a trophy this year? Do you guys think that we try to build our momentum before League's Cup and try to go in on all that, try to go in on that tournament, right? We've talked about, I think, to the death now, of what do we do from Vanney, because Vanney's on a contract year. So do we cut our losses now, knowing that we're going to have a new head coach anyways, and just have an interim coach while you continuously interview other coaches that are out there, which I know, Rob, you want to talk about a little bit as well? Or do we let Vanney dig himself out of his hole, because he won us MLS Cup last year, so he deserves, right, a shot or a whole season to dig himself out of trouble? Again, TBD, but you figure that if you're going to turn over a roster and make roster decisions, whether it's this summer or in the offseason, you're going to want to know who's in charge, right? So it's like one thing kind of leads to the other. And so these are all really big things. Here's another thing too. It's like, what do we do with Ricky, right? Ricky's on contract until 2027, but I don't know where he is in his progress. But like, again, if we're pushing for Leagues Cup, do we try to bring him back? If we think we're going to have a sniff at playoffs, like, there's so many things, man, that I feel like longer term, there's a lot of decisions that Will Kuntz, Greg Vanney, Dan Beckerman, right, all the way up to that level of authority. There's a lot of decisions, long-term implications that this team has to really think about.
I think it all starts with the decision on Greg. You know, I mean, we've already spoken about his future on this podcast independently of this recent result. But you know, he's in his final year of his contract. He's in negotiations with the team. The current skid has not helped his negotiating position. So I really feel like you said, I mean, if these decisions on players and whether to bring them back is going to take place, then a decision should be made on a head coach, because that head coach is going to be in charge of these players, right? Or who's brought back, who's not brought back. Who knows what kind of coach will be brought in? Will they want the player? Will they not want the player? So really, I mean, at this point, it's just got to come down to them kind of pulling the trigger or not pulling the trigger, and saying, you know what, Greg Vanney is our coach for the season, and that's what it is. Or like you said, just kind of, hey, since it's going to happen anyway, let's just cut it here. But in the wake of the 7-0, one of my colleagues, Rodrigo Serrano, put up a tweet that the Galaxy were firing Greg Vanney, and then it was deleted. Ananda, I remember I told you in the moment that he's usually spot on, and so one of two things happened for me here: that he found out that his sources weren't in the know, or he was politely asked to bring it down.
Right.
So I don't want to say which is which, but the fact remains that he brought it down. Greg Vanney is still LA Galaxy coach. And so he's still in his post, but you would have to think that at this point, you know, with all the speculation about his contract renewal and the way the team is playing at the moment, that there's you know, people out there saying that he shouldn't be the guy. I mean, certainly we had our colleague El Profe Alex Ruiz ask him about that. Greg kind of bristled out the question, saying that, you know, maybe you know something that I don't. But again, and I gotta feel like in any other sports organization, even this LA Galaxy team has shown a culture where this kind of track record hasn't been acceptable. But again, it's just kind of wait and see at this moment. But saying all that, who could even replace Greg if the Galaxy were to pull the trigger? I mean, there's a couple of names out there. Jim Curtin is probably the most popular option du jour at the moment. Robbie Keane is another name that's been bandied about. Landon Donovan is another one that's been bandied about, as well as an incredibly Peter Vermes. I did see here in chat that Jurgen Klinsmann's name has been brought up. That is XPH. I'd be worried about that. Yes,
That's a no
should we
for
be
me.
worried? Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big no for me as well. But guys, I mean, I think we can all agree that because the coach will be in charge of whatever players are going to be here next year, on the decisions on whether Ricky should be shut down or not, and just how far down the Galaxy are. Any kind of insight or decision on that has to involve a coach, and so a decision needs to be made on Greg Vanney. I like the guy a lot, and I wish him well. I hope he does dig himself out of that hole.
Yeah.
And it would be the biggest redemption story in history. It would be just
You mean the second biggest redemption story from 2023 to 2024? I mean, he's already got one big redemption arc. Can you do it? Can you do it a second time? But
can you imagine the MLS documentary, son?
One thing to close that out though, really quick, is the thing about the roster though, which is because you've got your 3 DPs on long-term deals. I believe they're all through 2027, at least, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I just looked at Capology, and I don't know how accurate they are. But, I think any coach with a good, decent track record that has a good footballing philosophy will do well with those 3 guys, but they have to be playing, right? They can't be injured. That's one of the things. So I think it'll be interesting, man. And Eddie Nag said Coots went on Cooligans and said Ricky is out till November. So, again, do we just shut him down or what do we do with that? Because he's a huge part of this team. I mean, everything was built around Ricky. So yeah, by the way, if you guys haven't yet, I know Alex Ruiz posted it, tweeted about it. Will Kuntz just did a show with the guys from the Cooligans while he was out in New York. He was in studio. Take a listen. Very, very good, especially when he talks about the salary cap. I think he delves into a little bit around the whole discussion that we had around Diego Fagundes versus Mark Delgado. There's some interesting tidbits in there just in general. So have a listen to that. I think it maybe rewired my brain a little bit just around really what we were up against coming into this year. So maybe a little reprimer.
He does say that the Galaxy were 2.5 million over the cap heading into the season, which is why some of your favorites are no longer on the roster. Speaking of one of my favorites who's no longer on the roster, Jalen Neal finally made his return to action. He got a start and he played really, really well in Montreal's win over NYCFC, making the Galaxy the only winless team in MLS. But Hector Nava says, love the show, but please, we need to hold Greg accountable. The team looked lost, like they had never trained together before. We can lose the game, but not like that. That was on Greg. Hector, we agree. I mean, the team did look lost. They looked disconnected. They looked disoriented. They looked out of ideas, out of heart, out of desire.
But that's why I said, that's why I said to you live in the stadium, I said, I don't think Greg can get past this because everything will go back to the coach. You don't lose a game like that 7-0 and not blame the coach for it. But like I said, I don't think it's entirely solely on Greg. The players have to take accountability too. I think like I said, they gave up on each other. There was no leaders on the pitch. So Greg can only do so much, but Greg can't, score 1v1 against the keeper. Greg can't, lose a defensive marker, one of the best players, one of the best number 10s in the league right behind you. He sets out the rules, or sorry, the game plan. The players have to execute, and the players have to stay mentally tough and disciplined. So, yep.
Yeah, it's everybody kind of has to hang their head in shame in this one, and Greg made sure to mark the moment or acknowledge at the very least that it was unacceptable by publicly admonishing his team at full time on the pitch, because it wasn't good enough. And there's us included. There was people that flew there to see this team. Christian Ramirez said, in his apology, that he knows that people spent their hard-earned money to make this happen and go support the team, and that it was unacceptable. And he's right.
I know. I spent all my hard-earned money on those pizza slices, man. Damn.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you made them taste worse after the loss.
Exactly. And so really, no one on the Galaxy really gets the defending the badge this week, but I would say that the traveling fans are the ones who get the defending the badge, and fans in general, really, because the one and only real CEO, I've only read little snippets of this right now, but it says to say that we are heartbroken and disappointed is an understatement. However, we need to unite behind our team. We came to be loyal over trends, but a lot of supporters are already talking about jumping ship. We need to be here through the good times and most importantly through the bad times. I know how frustrating this is, but we need to stand by our team more now more than ever. And as buenos y las malas, I knew that the one and only. I read the first sentence and I was like, "Ooh, I know this is gonna be fire. I know the girls are gonna be dropping bars here," and she did. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
so,
it just makes the victories that much sweeter. So,
well, it would be foolish to say let's put that one behind us, because really this one needs to be worn like a badge, like a reminder of just how bad things are. So
shame.
Don't forget it.
Shame.
Yeah, exactly. But the Galaxy need to find a way to shake themselves off and put in a performance coming up, because they have a game on Wednesday. So a quick look ahead in May, Ananda.
Yeah, let me pull that up if I can. Let me see. Yep. I mean, you guys know it. May's a tough month, right? May's a tough month. Of course, Philadelphia is our next opponent. We have not started well. We're already 0-2 on this month of May, 0-2 on this road trip.
I got the month of May.
Yeah, and the last chances again against Philadelphia, a very good team, which we'll preview here. We'll do a quick 5-10 minute mini match preview and get you guys out of here to see what we can expect. I mean, look, in a way, it is a blessing in disguise that you said, we got to put this behind us. Well, we have an ability to put this behind us and put this behind us quickly, just a few days after playing on the road, right, against, again, a very, very tough Philadelphia team. So we get another crack at it, and we don't have to wait a whole week to have another crack at it. But again, given the suspensions and the injuries, like, are we gonna use that to our advantage or not? Or are we going to, struggle because of all the elements that we're facing? But again, guys, May is a tough month, and we always go back to this. It's like you look at that and say, when is that first win coming? Like, when is it going to come? Right? Like, we'll talk about El Tráfico. Of course, we'll have a preview for you guys on Thursday. Not out of the realm of possibility, because again, those games take a world of its own. Those games always defy logic one way or the other, right? It always happens. Like, both teams just get geared up to play each other, and it's almost like a final in and of itself. So anything can happen in those games. It's almost like a cup final. But yeah, man, Philadelphia is going to be awfully tough because they are a darn good team this season.
Connor, welcome. Says, just came across the channel. I don't keep up with MLS much. What happened? I'm glad you asked, Connor. You can see this league table at the moment on here. The Galaxy at 15th. It is the first time in league history that the reigning champion has started so poorly. And Connor, you may be asking yourself, what exactly has happened? Well, let's go back to the beginning. In the offseason, the Galaxy lost key players and replaced them with players that were either young and had not learned the system yet, or were untested. They started the season with injuries as well. They started the season with a surprise 2-0 loss to San Diego, and things just got worse from there, Connor, culminating in a slew of different unwanted records that the Galaxy set, including the longest losing streak to start the season, to the recent feat of 7-0, the largest margin of defeat by an LA Galaxy team. Connor, I wish I had better news for you about the Galaxy, the reigning champion of MLS, but that's just not to be. However, Vancouver's looked really, really great. So if you want a good times and all the best feels, go ahead and hang out with the Vancouver folk. If you want, just sad full hours, you've reached the right channel. Thanks for being here with us, Connor. We do appreciate all our first timers. Comments 96 El Primo says, can we leave Vanney in Philly? I don't make those decisions. I think his family would be pretty upset if he just stayed in Philly. I mean, that would be doing an Emil Forsberg, which is what I should have said to that kid as I was walking. But
oh yeah, that would have been a good
one. No, Primo, we can't leave Vanney and Philly, but again, I don't make those decisions. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at where these two teams stand going into this midweek match. And let's face it, not a lot of hope here. After 12 matches, the Galaxy holds a 0-9-3 record. They have 3 points on the season, 0.25 points per game, a negative 20 goal differential, haven't kept a clean sheet in 7 matches, haven't scored in their last 2 matches, have only scored 3 goals in the last 5 matches, 15th in last place, still the only team yet to win a game in the league, dead last in the league, and the worst start in league history, your LA Galaxy. And now let's look at the Union here. After 12 matches, the Union holds a 7-3-2 record, 23 goals for, 12 goals against, for 23 points. They are third in the Eastern Conference on 1.92 points per game, plus 11 goal differential. They are unbeaten in their last 5 matches, earning a 2-2 draw with Columbus at home in their last game. They've scored 11 goals in their last 5 matches, not boding well for this Galaxy defense. And Ty Baribo is the top scorer in MLS at the moment with 8 goals. So really, when you look at this one, Ananda, I don't have a lot of hope here. It's not lining up to be a great match. I mean, they looked a lot more comparatively close to the Red Bulls on paper. At least on paper, it looks like this Union team is gonna go ahead and blow the Galaxy out of the water. But heading into this Wednesday road match at Subaru Park, it's the 14th time these teams meet, with the Galaxy leading the series 9-1-3, and 5 all-time matches played on the road. Against the Union, they hold an unbeaten record of 3-0-2. In LA's last 8 matches played against the Union, they have an unbeaten record of 6-0-2. And in the last meeting between the two teams, the Galaxy earned a 3-1 win over the Union at home on July 8th, 2023. Looking at who might start this match, Ananda, we already know that Amiro Garces is out, Cerrillo out, Ricky Puig confirmed by Will Kuntz to be out till November. So, we bring him up, but let's just not even talk about him till November.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, definitely yikes. The ones we're kind of wondering about are Gabriel Peck and Joseph Paintsell. Joseph Paintsell, well, not so much him. Greg already let us know he's not going to be playing on this road trip, but Gabriel Peck was day-to-day. We might see him. Unfortunately, we don't get media availability until Friday, which is, the a couple of days before El Tráfico here. So it'll be your guess as good as ours on whether Gabriel Peck will play. Looking at Philadelphia's team news, Andre Blake, their usual starting goalkeeper, is out. He's played 9 matches for the Union. He has 4 clean sheets. Ian Glavinovic, their center back, 4 matches with 1 goal. And they have a couple of other depth pieces like Neil Pierre and Oliver Mbazo, who are going to be missing this one as well. And looking at starting lineups, Ananda, what do you got for this Galaxy team, being with what Greg has?
Yeah, it's a thing. We'll see if Gabriel Peck can break into the starting lineup, right? Or if he's fit enough to play. But So now you take Cerrillo out of that lineup, you take Garces out of that lineup. So you would imagine that Zonka would slot in for Garces, right? And you know what, man, with the way Amido's been playing recently, maybe he does need a little bit of a break out of the side. Just have Zonka, an experienced defender. Again, he's also known to some mistakes, right? Known to some bobbles as well. Some head turners, because he's had some mistakes as well this year. Again, everyone in that back line has had a mistake at some point this season. So that's one. And then, Cerrillo, a guy who's been pretty much starting every match, man. Who do you put in for him? I would say Lucas Sanabria has done pretty well when he's been a single pivot this year, Rob, in the limited minutes that he has. So I think someone said it in the chat earlier. At this point, you have very little left to lose. Why don't you just let the young kids play? So you might see a Isaiah Parente back in there. You might see a Tucker Lepley. You might see a Harbor Miller, right? Who knows? I'm sure Vanney's going to look at not only the rest and recovery period. So guys like Marco Royce, I'm not going to expect to start this game, Rob, because, I mean, he's been playing on a bad knee really this whole season, right? So, and that's, even Will Kuhn said something a little bit about that as well during the interview. So, does Greg give a chance to a Tucker Lepley or Parente? So I'm gonna expect a few changes from the side. And then the other thing is formation wise, right? Rob, does he go back to a back four because it's more familiar with his team, because it blew up in our faces, the last game. Maybe still plays two strikers, but in this case play a 4-4-2 with a left winger and a right winger. Maybe Julian Aude and Mocuevas, maybe Diego Fagundes and I think there's a little bit of chopping and change you can do there. But it's all going to depend on Gabriel Peck and then rest and recovery, because Greg doesn't have a lot of options really based off of all their injuries and suspensions at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the team kind of picked itself. I mean, Emmy's not available, so Zonka goes in there and he covers that spot. Leaving you with basically just Eric Zavaleta as your center back. You only have one now. And I think you're right. Cerrillo gets replaced with Sanabria. At this point, let the kids run, man. Let the kids run.
Yeah, let Nasi run. Let Nasi run. He had that one nice shot, right? It was actually arrowing towards goal. Good save by Coronel again. But in the second half, that was probably the last nice play. I mean, he had a couple bright moments. He's got to show his personality, man. We spent a lot of, we invested a lot in this kid in terms of a U22. I know it's a loan signing, but before you make that decision to say, okay, we're going to cancel or terminate your loan, it's not working out, like, give him a fair shot. I feel like he hasn't had a fair shot this year yet, Rob. Give him a start. Let him start next to Ramirez. Remember when we scouted this guy, he was known for as a second striker, right? Playing off a number 9. So give him a shot.
Yeah. I don't envy Greg, not only for what position he's in, but just the challenges that he's facing, kind of like even picking a team through injury and suspension and stuff like that. Who knows? It'll be a surprise to us all who he picks for his starting 11 on Wednesday, especially with a look towards El Tráfico on the weekend. But one guy or a couple of guys that have been kind of undroppable for the Union are some of these players to watch on Wednesday. Ty Baribo has 8 goals and 1 assist. Like we told you, he is the leading goal scorer in the league at the moment. Quinn Sullivan, 6 assists and a goal, turning Mad Provider, just call him Cienfuegos right there. Kai Wagner with 4 assists on the year so far, and Mikel Ur with 2 goals and 2 assists at the moment. They have goals, they have creators, they have people that can punish you. It's not a mistake for them to be 3rd in the league. They have people that are dangerous. I am definitely scared for this Galaxy defense.
I'm definitely scared for this Galaxy defense, especially because of the way Philadelphia likes to play, Rob. And I'm going to pull up, I'm not going to go through all the stats, but I did pull up the stats just as a reference in terms of what should we expect from the Philadelphia Union side. And the big eye popper for me, Rob, is this is going to be a very, very similar game, very, very similar playing style to what we saw in that New York Red Bull game. A fairly high line of confrontation, a team that does like to press, especially high up the pitch, and win possession in your final third or in their final third. In our defensive third, so Philadelphia Union, they're number 1 in possessions won final third per match. They have sort of, under Bradley Carnell, this team is very high octane, Rob, high intensity. Again, they're dual monsters, second in the league in successful tackles per match. Actually conceded top 3 in the league, right? They don't give up a lot of chances. Then offensively, they're a good team. I mean, and without a lot of possession, they only average 46% possession, but they're, top 7 in the league in XG, top 5 in the league in shots on target per match. I believe they have their goals per match is top 3 in the league. So they know how to score goals. And again, this team under Bradley Carnell is a problem. And it's going to be a problem in a very similar way as New York and Red Bulls, in that they will try to pressure you and corner you into mistakes. And now for me, that makes me nervous, because we saw how the Galaxy handled that pressure against a Red Bull team that, has a very similar playing style, right? So when Greg says these things post-match about, the team or Red Bull sort of pressuring them into being even more indecisive in those pressurized moments where, you don't have that time advantage and you give up the ball in a bad area of the pitch, that's Philadelphia's game. So it's like, we saw this, play out in the way that it did 2 days ago. How is that going to change from now until Wednesday, right, Papa? And that's the big thing that I have in my head. So this is going to be an absolutely very, very difficult test for this team, because they did not pass the test the last time we saw an opposing team that had a very similar playing style.
Guys, we're getting towards the end here of this episode, but before we get on out of here, of course, we always we'll bring you our predictions here for this match coming up. But let us know your predictions as well. Let us know what you're feeling. I'm sensing a lot of pessimism, a lot of downtrodden people in chat at the moment. So let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if the Galaxy cop another L, how bad it will be, or let us know if you think the Galaxy will finally break out of the funk, buck the trend and get a first win on the season. Ananda, for the Galaxy to win this match, what do they got to do?
I think, man, they just need to keep it simple. They need to go back to the basics, is my answer. This Galaxy team, like we've said many a time on the show, they're void of confidence. They're void of any sort of positive momentum. I think they need to find a way to recreate that positive momentum. And like I said, but this is going to be really tough, because without those pieces, without your DPs, without your difference makers on the pitch, like how are we going to find a winning formula, especially against a top team in the Eastern Conference, right? A top 3 team that has 23 points in the season. So I think the best way is, don't shoot yourselves in the foot. And by that, you have to play simple. Just stick to the basics, stick to the principles. Oh, don't be overly fancy. Don't try to back pass it to the keeper if it's not on. When in doubt, kick it out. All that simple. It sounds simple, right? It sounds basic. It sounds like stuff that we learned in ASO back in the day, right, Rob? But when you're at this point, when you're at rock bottom, you've got to build from a foundation. So I think for me, it's just stick to the basics and keep it simple. And then from there, let Greg's game plan and stuff flow from there. But let's just not shoot ourselves in the foot. Let's stay in this game. Let's find a way to at least look. If it's 0-0 going to the 75th minute, I'm a happy camper, bro. Boy, I'm a very happy camper. Keep it cagey, keep it tight, and then take our chances from there. A draw is at this point an outstanding result for this team. We need any sort of positive momentum. Keep it simple.
For the Galaxy to win this match, they have to jugar con ganas. We saw a team that just simply gave up in this last match. It's hard not to give up when you're getting clapped 6-7-0. But at the end of the day, you are wearing a crest that needs to be cherished and honored and respected. And they need to lift themselves up now, and they need to play with that pride of having that shirt on. It's a heavy shirt. It's the heavier shirt in the league. Everyone knows it. Everyone's talked about it. Players that have come here have spoken on it. and these fans out there expect a lot, and it's a tough moment, but it's the moment where they have to show character, and show that desire. And Galaxy fans can abide a lot, even losses, but 7-0 with no desire, those kind of performances that they cannot
Inexcusable.
provide. So
Yeah.
for the Galaxy to win this match, they have to play with pride. Maybe that just goes into the whole playing back to basics, right? Because when you're a kid, they teach you that, right? You play for your team, play for your teammates, show pride, play together, stay together.
Yeah.
And
Solidarity. Yeah. Believe in each other. Yeah. All those cliche things, but at this point it's so true. And like I said, they need to start fighting for each other. They need to not down tools on each other. I argued that they were down tooling not just on Greg, but on each other more so. And they just need to, again, they need to stick together for sure, man. So 100%, I think I agree with all that. And again, hopefully this team shows us something, man, because you're right. This shirt is starting to get heavy, to wear heavy, to feel heavy on a lot of these players, unfortunately.
What do you and Doc Raquinho got on the betting odds front?
Yeah, I mean, of course, for the home team, -154, that's a 61% odds. The Galaxy, look, +375, that's 3.7, that's almost 4-1 odds there for the Galaxy. So, if you guys are feeling lucky, go ahead and support your team, show some confidence in your team there. But again, a draw is not too bad, actually, +310. Again, 3-1, almost 3-1 odds there, or just a little over 3-1 odds. So, yeah, man. Obviously, Vegas is not giving us any chance at all, but that it makes sense just based off of. Nor should they, especially with all of the missing characters from the Galaxy starting 11, with all the, like I said, injuries and suspensions. So we come to our favorite part of the show, where you're going first. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. We're not. You're not going first. The chat always goes first, and then you're going after that. So you're going second first. But has the Galaxy won a game yet? I love it, Herb. He says Union win 3-0. Ref mistake, own goals, knucklehead giveaway, set piece. Take your pick. Ouch. TM 1-0 Galaxy. Oh man, what I would kill to get that score line. That would be a shocker for sure. Connor says I'm going for a 1-1. Turn things around one game at a time. Good luck, guys, and God bless everyone. Thank you, Connor, very much for listening, there, man. Connor. Big Matthew, comments 96, 11 behind the ball and get a 0-0. See, I would love to believe that Greg would be as pragmatic to say 11 behind the ball and park the bus. I just don't think he has it in him, Matthew. Like, in chat, like, I just don't think he has it in him, which is why, yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in this tie. But since Rob's going first, he's going to give his prediction, and I probably know what it is already. So,
well, before I give this back to you, so you can go first on your prediction.
I love this ping pong right now.
We have Adam here with the super chat. Will the atmosphere be tense on Sunday?
Yes.
I don't know, Ananda. I mean, like, it's funny because in all the doom scrolling, this weekend, I saw a tweet that I absolutely loved that said something like, the Galaxy are down so bad, I don't even have LAFC fans in my mentions talking mess.
That was Lex.
Oh yeah, like, yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, LAFC will. I mean, based on current form, will probably beat the Galaxy on Saturday, and it's like, congratulations, you just beat a wounded animal. It's like, there's no pride on that. I mean, like, will the atmosphere be tense on Sunday? I mean, only because it's like the whole bragging rights thing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it should be.
We've seen that El Tráficos are, like Ananda said earlier, a different beast. But just by virtue of where the Galaxy are right now, Galaxy fans should not really be like looking for confrontation. I mean, like, they're what is there to hang your hat on right now? But anyway, no, I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be tense. Beyond the normal, just like El Tráfico rivalry tenseness.
You
Yeah,
know
that's
what
just me.
you know what I predict like it'll be. Speaking of predictions, I do you remember the first home game in 2023? This was during the boycott, so there was a lot of LAFC fans that day. I believe the final score line I want to say was 3-1 or 3-2. No, 3-2. Tyler Boyd scored that screamer, Rob, outside the box. I don't know if you remember that goal, but
I do.
I have a feeling that the atmosphere is going to be more so like that, or it's there is tension, there is banter, because there's a lot of LAFC fans that day because again the people were boycotting, etc. And I feel like it's going to be a nervous tension though, which is if the Galaxy don't do anything, the fans will be upset, and they will feel how upset the fans will be. But if the Galaxy gives them something to cheer about, I think the Galaxy fans, they'll get up, they'll beat their chests, they'll look around at all the LAFC fans that are around them and clown them and banter them and do all that good stuff. So I think it's going to be very similar to that type of atmosphere that I experienced that day, because I do remember that day quite well.
Well, to add to that, like I said, I don't think it'll be tense beyond the normal rivalry tenseness, tension that goes into this match. But I do think, and I expect this from Galaxy fans to be proudly defiant. I mean, proudly defiant. You said beating your chest. If the Galaxy give them something to cheer about, no, I think they're going to be beating their chest from the very beginning, because I said there's something to hang your hat on right now, but there is that pride in the shirt. It is a heavy shirt, like we've mentioned, but there is that pride in the shirt. And so yes, winless, most likely still winless when they meet LAFC. However, there is that pride in the shirt, and so I expect Galaxy fans are going to be just showing that pride and beating their chest, like Ananda said.
Yeah, and they are going to be winless because my prediction is going to be either 2-0 or 3-1 loss. I just don't see it, especially with the players that we have out. Like I said, this Philadelphia team is no joke. Very, very good team, and their strengths really, really hit on our weaknesses, Rob. And that's, I think the play style is really, going into my prediction, and it's really causing me pause for concern, because like I said, the way we dealt with that pressure on Saturday, if we play that same exact way, that same indecisiveness, this is not going to be fun. This is going to be a horrible game, and we can't get into what they call a basketball game with this team because we can't score on the other end, right? Like, Rob, we had 4 big chances, 6 shots on target the other day on Red Bull. We had almost 2 XG. I mean, it's not, those are not bad numbers. We just can't put the ball in the back of the net. So we can't have this be a basketball game back and forth. And that's how Philadelphia likes to play. And it was interesting because another possession-based side, Wilfred Nancy's Columbus team, played them just last match week.
To a 2-2 draw.
And to a 2-2 draw. But again, they've got, they're a well-oiled machine as well in Columbus. So it's not that you can't be a possession-based team and can't be successful against Philadelphia. You just have to be in form, and the Galaxy are obviously out of form at this point.
I'm calling a just like El Primo Matt 3-0 Galaxy loss. Prove me wrong, Galaxy. I want to be wrong. XPH says use your crystal ball. Ananda and Rob, if the Galaxy loses versus Philly, is Vanney gone before El Tráfico? I do not think so.
Yeah.
Contrary to what El Primo Matt says, you can't fire Vanney after an El Tráfico loss. It's got to be before. I do think that if they lose against Philly and they lose El Tráfico, I think at that point it does become a goodbye, Greg.
Possibility.
But I mean, then again, we've seen things that would have gotten other coaches fired, and it is what it is. But guys, we do want to thank you so much for being here with us today. We wish nothing but the best for you and your loved ones right now, because the Galaxy aren't giving you any joy. So hopefully you guys are finding joy elsewhere in your lives. Next on this humble little pod on Thursday, May 15th, we'll bring you our Galaxy versus Philadelphia Union reaction / El Tráfico preview. We will have some special guests for you on Thursday to break down El Tráfico and everything you need to know in the lead up to that match. And then on Monday, May 19th, we'll have a match reaction to El Tráfico. That match is happening on Sunday, May 18th. So go ahead and keep it locked here with us on Thursday, May 15th, and on Monday, May 19th. Ananda, do you have anything to add before we get out of here?
No, I just want to say really quick, thank you to everyone in chat for joining us again, guys. It's just nice to talk this stuff out, and we're always here for you, whether you're in our live streams or even in our DMs or comments or YouTube comments, etc. If you again, everyone listening to on playback as well, go ahead and ask us anything you want, get everything you want out of your chest in those YouTube comments as well, and in our tweets, etc. But all I got to say is this, man. Again, these are tough times. As they said, forgot what the minister's name was in Harry Potter, but these are troubling times, right? These are dark and troubling. Whatever the quote was. These are troubling times. There's no denying, right? That's for damn sure. And we're going through this together, though, guys. So I think the only message I'll say is just stick together. Again, in las buenas and las malas. And again, we just sometimes we have to go through the troubled times to make the victories and the triumphs that much sweeter. And that's all I got to say. Just got to leave it on a positive. And yeah, just stick together, guys. That's all I can say.
I like how El Primo said Galaxy looked like 100 versus 1 gorilla out there. Yes, absolutely true. Ananda, I don't know if you've caught any of that discourse, but you brought up a professor of the wonderful world of Harry Potter at Hogwarts. I believe there was another professor from Hogwarts called DJ from the movie Hustle and Flow, and he also had a something to leave you with. He says, it's hard out here for a pimp when you're trying to make the money for the rent. And yes, I believe that translates to stuff's going to get hard, but you got to pick yourself up and got to get through it. So Galaxy, you are down bad. Pick yourselves up, get through it. Your loyals, your dirties, your faithful will be there. Give them something to be proud about. We look forward to being back with you guys on Thursday. And without further ado, only one thing left to say, Ananda. LA strong, vamos campeones, and G's up. Do yo.